the Spectral House stood on the outskirts of town, a towering mansion with ivy creeping up its sides and a wrought iron gate that groaned in the wind. The townspeople whispered of its dark history, of the tragedies that had befallen its inhabitants over the years. Many believed the house was cursed, haunted by the ghosts of its past. The house had been abandoned for years until one day a family moved in. They were newcomers to town, drawn by the house's grandeur and the promise of a fresh start. But as soon as they stepped inside, they knew something was wrong. The air was thick with a palpable sense of dread, and strange noises echoed through the halls. At first, the family tried to ignore the strange occurrences, chalking them up to their own imaginations. But soon they could no longer deny that something was very wrong in the spectral house. Doors slammed shut on their own, objects moved inexplicably, and voices whispered in the dead of night. As the days went on, the family began to experience more and more intense paranormal activity. They would wake up to find their bedsheets pulled tight around them, as if someone was holding them down. They heard footsteps pacing in the hallways at all hours of the night, and saw shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their rooms. One night, the family was awakened by the sound of glass shattering downstairs. They crept down to investigate, and found that a vase had been knocked off a table and shattered on the ground. But what disturbed them most was the message scrawled in the dust on the table: "Get out." From that point on, the family knew they had to leave. But the house seemed determined to keep them trapped inside. Doors slammed shut behind them as they tried to leave, and windows refused to budge. They could hear laughter and whispers coming from the walls, as if the house itself was taunting them. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the family managed to escape the spectral house. But they were forever changed by their experience. They couldn't shake the feeling that they had been watched, even in their new home. And whenever they drove past the spectral house, they could feel the weight of its dark history weighing down on them. Years later, the spectral house still stands on the outskirts of town, abandoned once again. But locals still whisper of the family who lived there and the ghosts that drove them out. And some say that on quiet nights, you can still hear the laughter and whispers coming from inside the house, as if the ghosts who haunt it are still looking for their next victims.